would say try to figure out what you're most passionate about in life and what you're good at, and the mixture between those two, and then you should give it your all the time. You have to work really hard if you want to get anywhere with whatever you do. If you work hard enough, you're gonna succeed, and that's almost a fact. I started out 100% producer, and then the DJing was kind of, first of all, it was something I held off on because both me and Ash wanted me to be comfortable enough behind the decks, and especially since I started as a producer, so that it would be good, like from the moment we started touring. So I started off kind of with with pretty good gigs, like almost straight away, and I just went into touring, and I've been doing it for 4 years now, and almost constantly, Well, I mean, I was obviously practicing before, and I remember I was doing a couple of like underground, incognito gigs in Sweden before I actually tried something on for real. But I got into it pretty quick, especially with such a, the schedule I've had has always been so hectic. So, I got into it really quickly. I didn't envision, not at this level, but I was definitely very focused already. I was already really driven and spending almost, 24 hours a day, working on music. But I mean, I had a couple of, shitty record deals and stuff like that, but I was really dedicated. But then when I met Ash, he just took me to a whole nother level, like professional. Like when I met him, he really took me out of nowhere and then really built my career, And I wouldn't be here without that. Good before, which is kind of cool, going from being, normal. To me, it feels like going from being normal to being like very, down because of all the work. It's just so much workload, And so many like trips to the hospital and back and forth. There was so much going on at the same time. So it was a real relief. Like that 8-month break happened right when it needed to happen. Because I was getting skinny. I was getting everything. I needed a break just to be home. But now I feel. Yeah, like I said, even if I look back to me before before I started touring, you know, I feel better now, which is weird to me. But that's all thanks to like exercise and to all the people around me who's like really helped me out. Message to the youth. I mean, I would say try to figure out what you're most passionate about in life and what you're good at, and the mixture between those two, and then you should give it your all the time. You have to work really hard if you want to get anywhere with whatever you do. If you work hard enough, you're going to succeed, and that's almost a fact. I've seen it so many times. In my manager's studio complex here in Stockholm, we're working on, me and Conrad are working on the new Coca-Cola campaign song. Yeah, I got, from my side of things, I got a demo from Coca-Cola. I started playing around doing a couple of demos for it. It was called Taste the Feeling. I started playing around with Josh, who wrote the song's voice, and did a little bit of a skeleton of a demo, and that's pretty much what I had before going in here today. And then now now we have a song. You know, it feels awesome. I mean, we've been working for a while now, and everything has been going really well so far. It's one of those. I mean, I've been drinking Coke since I was a kid. It was one of those brands that I don't really have to compromise at all with my integrity to feel like in order to support it. It's one of those collaborations that is, from my side, really comes easily because I drink Coke all the time. I was really happily surprised. I have to say, because I really didn't have any. I really set that thing for myself this time with this project, not to have any, predetermined ideas of where it was going to go. I just felt like winging it a little bit because I almost never do that, and it usually comes out bad for me. So this time I decided to wing it, and he just jumped on it straight away. And it didn't really take long at all until we started getting, if you compare it to whatever I had before to work with, it became another song very quickly, and really exactly what I was thinking about changing, and we just had the same vision, I think.
In your early 20s, has being essentially shoved into the forefront of the mainstream music scene allowed you to enjoy your youth more, or has it hindered your freedom in some ways?
I mean, there's of course there's always stuff I miss out on, but then again, I mean, I've always feel like it's so much more positive things about it, and I don't feel at all crippled by it or anything. I just feel so happy, that I'm one of the few people who can actually say that I love what I'm doing, and to have gotten to the point where I'm at today, it's amazing. I still can't believe it. So yeah, I'm just very happy.
What do you think of detractors that attempt to claim your sound is too mainstream?
I mean, everyone has their own music taste. I don't know. I haven't changed my sound a bit from when I started to now in order to please the mainstream. I've always been doing the music I'm doing now. I've always stayed true to myself, and like the music has become more popular, and the mainstream has opened up to a lot of more instrumental tracks and stuff like that. And I've always been interested in doing these kind of like really melodic, uplifting tracks. So when I just kind of laugh when I see people, telling me I've sold out or something like that, because I haven't changed anything,
So I was wondering, do you find it bothersome at all when people say things like that? Because as you said, you've been creating the same sound for a very long time, so you haven't changed. The only thing that has changed is more people have discovered you. So does it feel weird to have people essentially hating on your success?
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning it bothered me, because you're like, oh yeah, I want to tell this person that it's not like that. Like, are you, are you stupid? Just look at, my music then or look at my music now. But then, I I just kind of noticed the better things go, like everyone said, the more haters you get, like by default. And I mean, you can't say it to everyone, and I mean, it doesn't really matter anyway. So right now, I just kind of like brush it off and don't really care that much. But obviously, it's an annoying thing, but it's just something you have to overlook.
Aggravating connections between the death of Avicii and the first-class pedophile rings he was attempting to decimate keep on surfacing, with companions of the DJ and maker stating the 28-year-old multimillionaire had dedicated whatever is left of his life to securing vulnerable youngsters and uncovering the international world-class predators that abuse and rape kids for wear. Swedish superstar DJ Avicii kicked the bucket under suspicious circumstances last week while in Muscat, Oman, and his death shook the entertainment world. Avicii, conceived Ted Bergling, was a pioneer of the contemporary EDM scene and a rare DJ capable of offering out arenas around the world. He won 2 MTV Music Awards, 1 Billboard Music Award and earned 2 Grammy nominations. His greatest hit was Les 7 Ls. However, it is his dangerous directorial Make a Big Appearance video for a Better Day that has raised fears that 28-year-old Avicii's less than ideal death was not natural. The Avicii video for a Better Day. The For a Better Day video is profoundly irritating and doesn't indicate to such an extent as yell from the housetops about what Avicii thought about tip-top pedophile rings. According to companions, Avicii had turned into a passionate safeguard of vulnerable kids around the world after seeing unimaginable repulsions while blending with the world's entertainment industry and political tip-top. For his first video as chief, Avicii shone a focus on the world-class pedophilia plague. For a Better Day recounts the story kids being sold as sex slaves to tip-top kid traffickers. The video indicates 2 kids escape by hopping off a bluff into the ocean, before returning as adults to get exact grisly reprisal on the capable first-class pedophiles who abuse them as youngsters. By appearing as one of the adult kids in the video, Avicii clearly demonstrated which side he was on, and in spite of record label warnings that the video was commercial suicide, chose to make it clear that uncovering the tip-top predators was more important than making cash. At the finish of the video, it is revealed that the tip-top pedophile ring Avicii had in his sights goes all the way to the highest point of government. In the video, the leader is slaughtered and pedophile is branded on his body. However, in reality, it was Avicii who met an inauspicious death, joining Chester Bennington and Chris Cornell as famous musicians who have passed on before their opportunity under suspicious circumstances after vowing to uncover the first-class pedophiles. Was Avicii quieted for his perspectives? As a fruitful and popular youthful artist with a following of a huge number of youngsters around the world, he was in a situation to red pill the masses. As the less than ideal deaths of a developing number of anti-pedophile activists demonstrates, this kind of work is unfathomably dangerous in today's reality. Are all of these deaths related, or is everything a major fortuitous event?
These kids graduate or age out of these institutional orphanages, often corrupt institutional orphanages, where even the directors will call the traffickers and let them know when certain kids are being released. I'm now involved in a campaign, Traffic Jam. We're seeking to unite musicians and their fans to jam up child trafficking around the world while also jamming to make a difference. We've got a lot of artists that have given us signed instruments as part of this Instruments of Change program. I've got a beautiful guitar here that was donated to us by Dave Matthews. He signed it. He's put some pretty incredible artwork on it here because he believes in this cause, and he believes that this instrument can be an instrument of change. Just a stroke of a pen can break the chains of slavery for a child. Hello. Wow, hi. There's few things on this planet that elicit such a passionate response in people than the music they identify with and the causes they identify with, and to marry those together, there's power in that.
of electronic dance music died Friday. Avicii, whose real name was Tim Berling, was 28 years old. His publicist says the Swedish DJ and producer died in Muscat, Oman. For more on Avicii's life, here's Vladimir Duthier.
It was his 2011 hit Levels that catapulted Avicii to #1 on the dance music charts in the United States and across Europe. Avicii quickly became one of the hottest producers in the music industry. Collaborating with superstars like Beyonce and Coldplay. Released in 2013, Avicii's most famous song, Wake Me Up, became the most streamed song on Spotify that year. And as electronic dance music became more mainstream, Avicii became one of the busiest artists, appearing at dance festivals worldwide. Hey, brother. The constant touring took its toll. He suffered from acute pancreatitis, reportedly from excessive drinking. In 2016, he retired from touring, and in a post to his fans, he wrote, "It really helped me realize that I needed to make the change that I'd been struggling with for a while." Yet he continued to record and produce hits for artists around the world up until his death. Saying at one point, "I'll never let go of music." Tanya, since news of his death broke today, condolences from his peers in the music industry just keep coming in. Funk legend Nile Rodgers, Madonna, Calvin Harris, he worked with them all, and it really does show how many genres he touched and how prolific he was. Even if you didn't know him, there's a pretty good chance you know his music.
Oh, and he was so young. Vlad, thank you. We're back after...
Considered a pioneer of electronic dance music, also known as EDM, he retired from touring in 2016 due to health issues. As a DJ, he sold out worldwide arenas with hits like 2013's Wake Me Up. Joe Levy, contributing editor at Rolling Stone and The Village Voice, joins us now by phone. Joe, give us some background on Avicii, what he was known for and what he accomplished in this relatively short career.
One of the interesting things about Avicii is that he is someone who started making music in his teens. Signed as a teenager, 18, still in high school, he had grown up with this kind of music. He began to have success immediately with a well-known song called Levels, but Wake Me Up, his biggest song, was a real change for this kind of music. We weren't used to hearing what I suppose we could call that folk or country influence that you can hear in that song. Someone playing guitar and singing a very simple melody you could hear around a campfire over those kinds of beats. He took a music that was really a festival music or a club music and made it a pop music that you heard on the radio.
The report with details of the DJ's death comes from entertainment website TMZ, quoting sources privy to specific information about Avicii's death. Avicii, whose real name was Tim Berling, was found dead in the city of Muscat, Oman, on April 20th. Last week, his family penned an open letter saying the 28-year-old could not go on any longer and wanted peace. The letter, signed the family, described Avicii as a fragile artistic soul and a sensitive guy not made for the machinery he ended up in. It says he truly battled thoughts about the meaning, life, happiness.now. He could not go on anymore. He wanted peace. Speaking to Mail in Line at the time of the letter's publication, a spokeswoman for the artist declined to confirm whether he had taken his own life. Read the family's open letter, published on Thursday, in full. Our beloved Tim was a seeker, a fragile artistic soul who always carried great existential questions. An overperforming perfectionist who traveled and worked hard at a tempo which led to extremely difficult stress. When he stopped touring, he wanted to find a balance in life to feel good and be able to do what he loved the most, music. He truly battled thoughts about the meaning, life, happiness.now. He could not go on anymore. He wanted peace. Tim was not made for the machinery he ended up in.
Many fans are still reeling from the untimely death of Swedish DJ Avicii, but police may be ruling out any sort of foul play in his death. Sweden's public broadcaster SVT reports authorities in Oman, where the DJ died, have performed 2 autopsies. The results have not been revealed, but SVT says that nothing suspicious was found during the autopsies and there were no signs of foul play. The body has now been cleared to be taken back to Sweden.
We are dedicating most of our broadcast on Wednesday to a live special focusing on mental health. It's called Stop the Stigma, a conversation about mental health. We want to remove the shame and blame from the discussion around mental illness diagnoses, and this morning, as part of our commitment to tackling these issues, we're talking about Swedish DJ Tim Bergling, known around the globe as Avicii. He revolutionized electronic dance music and collaborated with many of the world's top artists. In April 2018, Tim Bergling died by suicide while on vacation in Oman. He was just 28. After his death, his parents started the Tim Bergling Foundation to advocate for the recognition of suicide as a global health emergency and to remove the stigma of mental illness. We recently spoke with Tim's father, Claes Bergling, in his first U.S. broadcast interview. How do you want people to remember your son?
As a good person, a good producer, he had a good heart.
With his mega hit, Wake Me Up, released in 2013, Avicii became a global superstar. The song went to #1 in 22 countries. But Avicii was ambivalent about his success, talked openly about his anxiety, depression, and addiction.
Everyone knows that I've been anxious, everything, and that I've been trying.
I think it's brave of him to open up that way.
Claes Bergling remembers his son as a shy boy growing up in Stockholm. When did you first see his love of music?
At home. He was singing the Swedish national hymn.
Was he good?
Not particular, but very loud and very proud. But obviously he was super talented.
You must have been proud to see that.
Oh, yeah, sure. Of course.
Claes and his wife, Anki, saw the first signs of Tim's anxiety when he was a teenager.
When you have a child that's not feeling well, you try everything to get the situation right again, and you try to understand what's going on. So we went to a psychiatrist. Yes. And Tim was, I think he was 14 or 15. He sort of calmed down Tim.
As Tim's career took off, Claes stayed involved.
His, receipts?
His receipts?
Yeah, because he put everything down in his pocket.
Did you really iron them?
Yeah, I did, actually. I did.
As Avicii, Tim traveled the world, performing up to 250 shows a year.
He was a very determined guy. He went all in.
He obviously loved it.
Yes, I think so. Of course, after a couple of years, love of the work can be also a burden.
Father and son talked often by phone.
We talked a lot about deep things.
Did he talk to you about his anxiety?
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah, oh yeah. I had experienced myself as young. If you have experienced it yourself, you know that there are ways to get a more balanced life.
In 2016, Avicii quit touring and instead focused on making music.
He was much healthier and he started exercising and things really turned into a very, very good direction.
Less than 2 years later, Tim died by suicide.
The suicide came as a shock to all of us, and we thought that he was really on a better way.
You said you had difficulty with that word at first, suicide.
Yes, absolutely. To pronounce it is also to admit that you're part of this destiny, so to say.
How are you doing now?
Well, it's ups and downs, and it's a life before, and now it's a life after. That's the best way you can express it.
In June of this year, Tim's parents released the third Avicii album, with music he was working on just before his death. The proceeds are going to the Tim Bergling Foundation. What's your goal with the foundation?
Trying to get the stigma away from talking about mental illness and suicide. We hope we can be a voice through Tim, because Tim has so many millions of fans.
What would you say to fans of his who might be dealing with some of the things that he dealt with?
You have to talk about it, and you have to you shouldn't be afraid to ask for help.
World-famous DJ Avicii was considered a musical genius at the top of his game when he died by suicide last year. Now his final songs are being released in the new posthumous record, Tim. It's at #1 on the iTunes Dance chart and reveals a beloved artist's struggles in and out of the spotlight.
Here is the song SOS, Hello Black!
Hello Black takes the stage for a very personal performance of SOS on Jimmy Kimmel. The lyrics are haunting.
Can you hear me, SOS? Help me put my mind to rest. I can feel your love.
Aloe may be providing the vocals, but the driving force behind the song is the late EDM genius Avicii, born Tim Bergling.
I can feel your touch.
Performing the songs that I did with Tim is in some ways always a celebration and in some ways commemoration.
So wake me up when it's over. When I'm wiser and I'm older.
The two are best known for their 2013 hit, Wake Me Up.
Meeting Tim was a beautiful accident. The music that we were able to make and the impact that the music that we made had on the world changed my life because it made my career blossom in ways that I'd never imagined.
Now, more than a year after Avicii died by suicide, the music he left behind has been released in a new posthumous album entitled Tim, which is allowing Avicii's fans to revisit his life and legacy. We sat down with some of Tim's collaborators who opened up about his final days.
There's no telling what may have happened in those final hours. He'd come through a really tough time and was starting to experience beautiful moments again with friends and family and musicians that he was working with.
There was no feeling of a finite end to it.
Sharing behind-the-scenes videos and candid photos, collaborating with some of the biggest names in the business. Everyone from Chris Martin of Coldplay to Madonna.
Of my rebel heart.
He won an American Music Award for favorite electronic dance music artist and was nominated for 2 Grammys and countless other awards.
Tim was an EDM god.
Everyone knew Avicii, even the president.
Some of us dance and sing to ABBA and Avicii.
But away from the spotlight, Tim was wrestling with substance abuse that led to health issues. He suffered from pancreatitis, seen here in the documentary Avicii True Stories, released less than a year before he died.
Based on how I've been feeling today and the pain I've also been at today, they don't think I'm gonna be fit for shows because the shows are going anyways.
Publicly, he struggled to keep up with the intense demands of his lifestyle. Privately, his friends say his anxiety grew along with his fame.
I think he had a kind of invincible mind state, like nothing can touch me, I'm capable of everything. I can party tonight and still do this gig tomorrow and then travel halfway across the world.
Vincent Pontera and Salim Al-Fakeh, known professionally as Vargas and Lagola, co-wrote several songs with Tim over the years.
We met him really in the early days because he just had released Levels. We were there from the beginning.
He loved writing the songs like super old school on piano or guitar, never on tracks. He was like super into melodies and loved the structure of melodies and was super picky about everything.
He always had a really clear vision where he wanted to go with his music, and he had this idea about we should mix some country music with this other thing, and we wrote this.
Your 2013 biggest hit, Wake Me Up, collaboration with the Swedish DJ Avicii, who later took his own life. What was it like to work with him?
It was great to work with him. He was the consummate musician. You know, a lot of these electronic dance musicians, the DJs, they're not very musically talented. And although Avicii wasn't classically trained, his ear was in tune. He really understood what melodies and what rhythms he wanted to use. And he was directing the whole show when he was creating the music.
How'd you hook up with him?
He was looking for someone who could sing like Marvin Gaye. That's what he told me. And when we got together making songs, he accidentally double booked a session with Mike Einziger from Incubus. So I went in and we wrote the song Wake Me Up.
You performed the song at the Electric Daisy Carnival with the DJ Tiesto as a tribute to Avicii. Was it very...
It was emotional, extremely emotional. It was the first time I had performed it to a big audience since he'd passed. And I felt like it was, for me, a moment of closure for Tiesto, who had been his friend, you know, many more years than I had been his friend. A sense of closure, and for an audience and the world to finally have a moment to say goodbye.
Do you know why he killed himself?
I can only say that I think the music business was too much for him.
I can only say that I think the music business was too much for him.
He was, he was cut from the cloth of the producer. He wasn't cut from the cloth of the entertainer, and I think that's what got him too much pressure.
You said you were failing those who need mental health more?
Yeah, I would say we're definitely failing those, and we're not recognizing the need. We don't know how to deal with it, and there's a stigma against it. We consider it weakness, but, everybody's got a different kind of challenge. The ones that we can't see are the ones that we often don't address. This landscape of electronic music around this acoustic and a guitar and vocal basically took the world by storm.
He was so musically prolific.
They created the song along with Mike Einziger
Feeling my way through the darkness.
in just a couple of hours, but it would go on to amass nearly 2 billion hits on YouTube alone.
I had no idea that the song would connect with such a wide audience the way that it did.
Thoughts and ideas about the music that helped me evolve, and I do owe everything I have to you.
In 2016, he wrote a letter to his fans announcing he was retiring from touring at the age of 26.
I don't know if he is a victim of being too smart, but maybe that's one of the curses of genius, almost. If you are intelligent enough to solve some of the most complex questions, you'll have many more to solve.
Joe Janiak met Tim in 2018 when the two were introduced by mutual friends. They worked together on Avicii's latest album.
He was a healthy guy at that point. He didn't seem like he was on a destructive path at all.
The last years was I felt it was a really happy Tim.
He was in a really good place.
But of course, maybe he was struggling, but what we saw was something else.
But on April 20th, 2018, Tim was found dead in Oman, where he had been vacationing. His family released this statement. Our beloved Tim was a seeker, a fragile artistic soul searching for answers. He could not go on any longer. He wanted to find peace. After months of silence, Tim's family announced the new album.
Tim's mother and I decided that Tim's music should be released to his fans and to people who wants to listen to it.
With most of the music completed, his collaborators turned to notes and emails Tim had left behind to finish the work.
We talked so much about it, and we just got back to that, how he felt about this music. He wanted this music to come out.
I had a demo which had the kind of sketch vocals in, which me and Tim had figured out to a certain point. But the very last song we worked on was Bad Reputation. Tim was very much a kind of perfectionist.
For Janiak, Tim's lyrics have taken on greater meaning, like in the song Ain't a Thing.
That's definitely one of the most haunting songs for me because of the chorus lyrics, which we didn't really discuss an awful lot at the time. When the record plays the final song and the parties will be long, long gone, all the pretenders and the hangers-on will go find themselves another one, which at the time didn't seem quite as intense as it does now.
We have 3 songs on this album.
Peace of Mind,
Excuse Me, Mr. Sir, and Tough Love.
We talked so much about all the songs that we did, and we wrote down everything so we could go back to what we actually wanted to say. If you put what happened and you look back and read
in context,
it could be quite difficult to read some of the lyrics.
Those close to Tim hope that in sharing his story, they can help others who are struggling. His family has started a foundation in his name to support groups involved with mental health and suicide prevention.
There are so many people that are going through dark times, and you wouldn't know it because sometimes they can just wear a really good mask. And this moment is an opportunity for all of us to reach out to our friends and our loved ones and say, how are you doing? And really checking in.
It's okay to not be okay, and it can seem hard to be really honest about your emotions, but I think a lot of people feel that way.
Today, Tim's legacy lives on through his music.
The music is a snapshot of all of the best things about him.
He was a songwriter. He was a producer. He wasn't just Avicii, the DJ.
Tim thought outside the box. He was a creator, and what he wanted to do was move people.
But I think his legacy is going to be the great things he did at the end of it all.
I was in New York, and I don't want to talk about it too much because it'll choke me up a bit. But I mean, obviously, it's just like there's nothing worse hearing about someone like that's your friend that passes away when their life, it wasn't supposed to happen. It's different than seeing someone pass away, with a terminal illness or something, but when it's unexpected like that, it's just like, obviously it's like surreal. It's like it's not real. It doesn't feel real, but it's still heavy. It's still hard.
Are the DJs in the industry thinking about perhaps working on a tribute song or album?
I'm sure like all the DJs, like he touched so many DJs. I mean, beyond the DJs, he was one of the most important people to really bring EDM to the place that it's at. There was no EDM as a term, because it's coined EDM. That term is fairly new. That term is less than 10 years old. So I mean, when that happened, when people started calling electronic music EDM, he was one of the artists that helped bring it out of our little bubble. Not even a little, but like we had our own insular world. And there's certain artists that brought the music to the larger world, and he's definitely one of them. Listen to the music, I just hear his music in all this music. You can really hear that his influence is everywhere.
Some of us dance and sing to ABBA and Avicii.
When I came home, I realized this was an idea that had some things, but with levels, everything just kind of took off.
I was like, oh my God, this is so amazing. He's doing this as Bach did what he did.
So talented, man.
I was having the time of my life.
The hottest acts in music. Tim, how is it to be you?
It got to a point where it's too much.
I know that he's been going through a lot with his health.
People's perception of who Avicii is isn't who Tim is. I don't really like being the center of attention.
You are.
That's the thing. That's what makes it so weird.